This is WT for TST, and this evening we're honoured to be joined by Ben Duracell Jones. How are you, mate?
I'm very good. Absolute pleasure to be on. So, yeah,
you're looking good. Well.
Thank you. Yeah, living the dream.
You got the same haircut now, mate.
That's because we shave it short, don't we?
Right. I can just see some trunks in the background, some belts. I want a little. Can I have a little spin of the room?
Of course you can. Of course you can. Excuse the mess. It's in the office, okay? So yeah, we go. But yeah, obviously the little thing, my belts and stuff. Rocky. Everyone's got to be a Rocky fan when they were young. Especially in our era, anyway. And there's my legend of a boxer, Sugar Ray Leonard. So that's a bit me. And I don't know who the boy is. I ain't got a clue who that boy is. He's don't know. And the wonderful Muhammad Ali. So obviously Ricky and Joe Calzaghe yet to be put up, but they will be very soon. So don't you worry about
that. Are these actual shorts?
Yeah. Well, it's authenticated, so it's all been signed. It's all, I don't know whether there is actual he's ever worn them, but obviously I know he signed them and whatever. So yeah, it's I don't think they're the ones he wore in the fight, but yeah, they're good. I like it.
Right, mate.
I like that one.
Right, let's crack on then. So first time on TST, what we like to do is go literally to find out who you are behind the gloves. I think it's dead easy to talk about boxing, which we will. But first of all, mate, can we go to your childhood where your life began in Crawley?
That's right, yeah, Crawley. Well, to be honest, I had a very good childhood. I had a mum and dad and a younger sister, and we lived okay. You know, we were never rich. It's never, we started from the very, very beginning. And I was born and brought up first of all in a little flat. Ended up in a council house where my dad bought, and my dad's a workaholic. My dad's very similar to how I am as a person, but I put my energy into sport. As in, my dad he's a proper worker. He will not go home until he's finished. He's one of them guys, and he built. Knocked about our first council house, then we sold that. Then he bought it, sold it. Then we bought a bungalow, an old wreck. He built that into a nice big house, a bungalow. Then built plot of land after plot of land, built houses, and he moved on. And my old man did very well, you know. Not as I was a kid. I'm talking as I was older, as I started to be turning into an adult. But yeah, my dad was a worker, but fair play to him. Anyone that works in life and works hard, I wish them the best, you know, because they tried. You see what I mean? He didn't fall on his lap, believe me. He tries his nuts to get where he was.
It's that work ethic, isn't it? It sounds like an amazing work ethic to not just get to where he's but to look after you and your sister and your mum.
100%, and I think that as well sort of must have, in a different way, maybe pushed on to me. So again, being as a boxer, I had to be the fittest boxer in that gym. I still now, as a 38-year-old man, I go to the local boxing gyms and have to be the fittest person in that gym. And I can't handle it. It will drive me mad if I'm not fittest. Until I get there, I will get there, and I always will be the fittest. That's me. That's just how I am.
That's great, mate. I just find it funny. I've got an image of you being a 38-year-old guy and some 19-year-old young buck, and you're like looking at him going, yeah, I think it's brilliant.
I won't have it.
Right.
I'll tell him.
So what were you like as a kid then? I'm presuming you were hyperactive or, no?
Very much so. Very, very hyperactive. I suffered with ADHD, and I was every single. Some parents would say I was everyone's nightmare. But do you know what? I was a very, very polite kid. Always been pleased and thank yous. That's what I was told. And but I was hyperactive. I could not keep still. Do you know what? I struggle now. Sitting here talking to you is difficult because I feel like getting up and I need to do stuff. I struggle to watch films. I've always been that type of person. Never a computer games kid. I was always out doing something. And you name a sport, I'd done it. And I had to be the best at it. I was one of them.
So what's this about to calm you down? At school, you would turn up at school early and do like a run, or you'd go do some cross country, and then that would allow you to.
You know what? This actually happened more so in my later years. So when I went to senior school, okay, I think they realised that I obviously had issues with. I was very good at sport. I did every single sport there was at school, and I run for the county, and I run for the county. I played football for the county. I played rugby for the county. I was a good at a good standard at every sport, but they realised that it was more than that. I think it's my hyperactiveness that made me better at that. But if they got me to school at say 8 o'clock in the morning, our school started at 8:30, okay, and I went out for a run. The school teachers realised it'd be they'd take me out for a cross country run, and then the time I got back it was 8:30. The time I had a shower and got into lessons, I felt like I was missing a bit of school, which actually I wasn't really. If you think about it now, I was a silly one. But that I could sit there and concentrate at school. Otherwise, I'd be bouncing around and probably bouncing off every wall there was in the classroom. So I think I had a very clever and sensible school that actually realised what I had. But instead of just letting me trying to control me, sit in the corner, shut up, Ben, do this, do whatever, I actually looked at it in a whole different way and thought, you know what? I'm going to control him by making him do extra work, running, them sort of things. I done cross country and loved it, and it was my passion as well. I loved it at school. So why not do something you love and help you learn? So I could sit there in my lessons and actually concentrate and learn.
So that's a pretty good angle for anyone that's struggling with ADHD or whatever, isn't it? I think that's a really good formula.
I've gone back into the gym in the last 6 months, and I started training people, do PTs and that sort of thing. And I've been completely out of the gym for 2 years, apart from this last sort of 3, 4, 5 months. So I've weird enough, I've come across quite a few kids with ADHD. And I strongly believe a sport doesn't have to be boxing, but a sport like boxing is your perfect example, because do you know what, they can control themselves. Their mums and dads are telling me thank you, Ben, because you know what, it goes home and it goes to sleep. And normally go home bouncing off the walls.
No, mate, I think it's brilliant. So I think, correct me if I'm wrong, 8 years old is the first time you entered a boxing gym?
I did, yeah, I did. Saying now, I've got videos of me at 4 years old punching punch machines, and I knew what I was doing at 4. So I was actually, quite strangely enough, I was obviously quite natural at boxing. It was something that I was natural to. Like,
did you get in trouble at school? Did you get any scraps at school and stuff or not?
Yeah, a few scraps, but never real. I was never really that a trouble kid. I think boxing helped me in a big way, because from 8 years old, I was in boxing. I knew my limits. I knew where it's a good disciplined sport, as everyone knows. And I wasn't the kid I was never the bully, ever the bully. And I think once you're not the bully and there is the bully, I think they realise that actually he knows what he's doing. I ain't going to go near him. And I think I kept away from quite a lot of, don't get me wrong, so does everyone have a few scraps. I did have a few, but no, it wasn't really me.
So you went to the gym at 8, or I think it was about 8, in Crawley. Yeah, it's pretty much that's all been in Crawley, isn't it? Yeah.
Boxing club, that's right.
Talk to us about so 8-year-old, the Crawley Boxing Club. Go from there. What happened? How did you end up being where you are today? So take us through the amateurs, early amateurs, and then into your proper amateurs. You had a decent amateur career, didn't you? I
did have a decent amateur career. Yeah, I had a very hard division. Yeah, I was a lightweight as an amateur. As a senior in my division was Andy Crawley, Frankie Gavin, Amir Khan, a guy called Stephen Turner from the army. He was a fantastic amateur boxer. I could probably name you another 5 more, but which are all top class fighters, and you think, wow, actually that was a difficult looking back now, how difficult actually my weight was, but yeah, starting from the beginning. So I was 8 years old. I went down there. Strangely enough, Michael Aldis was British and Commonwealth champion himself. At the time, he hadn't turned pro. He was still a young man, I went down there and I started training with them. But it at the time, because he had too much going on. It wasn't consistent enough. It was 1 week we were there, next week we weren't. And then I was probably about 8.5 years old, and they started doing a Saturday group down there. And it was brilliant. It was me. I turned up. They were shocked that I knew exactly what I was doing, and I just went from stage to stage. I had a great time, and boxing was me. My family are that type of people as well.
Do you know what? I'm going to stop you there if you don't mind. Your face, when you talked about that Saturday class, your face just completely changed to to a looking back type of, what great days they were. Do you know what I mean? Like passion.
That's true. It's true. It makes you warm inside. They were that good. They were very good. I loved it. Do you know what? You could talk to me about most of my boxing, but any sport I did. I played football at a decent level. I played for Fulham at football, so I was a decent footballer as well at one point. Not so much anymore, but a lot of it. I loved sport. Sport was me, and it helped me, because I think if I didn't have sport, I probably would have been in a lot of trouble. Well, I know I would have been in a lot of trouble. A lot of my friends are in a lot of trouble. And that was because I might have been out messing about with them, and I went back to say I had boxing or I had football or whatever, and they stayed out and got themselves in trouble. So there you go.
So what made you? So you said you were pretty decent at footy and other sports, but let's just take football and boxing.
Football was my closest one, really. Yeah, it was.
So why boxing over football? I guess was the question, or the next question was going
to be honest, it wasn't a decision. It was. It should have been the decision. From a younger age, you try telling a 14-year-old, make your decision whether it's football or boxing, you can't. My mum and dad looked at it like, go and do what you're doing, we'll see what opportunities you come up. Obviously, I was at Fulham. I was playing for the county. I had England trials. I was a decent footballer. But my boxing was good. I was a little bit unlucky with my football. As I was getting to my pro contracts, Kevin Keegan became manager at Fulham. Ray Wilkins was there, was manager as well. And then Alan Smith took over. Al Fayed took over with all the money. So the money, it all changed down there. And within a year of me being there as a professional footballer, I slowly see things completely changing, buying in players. I was the only player left with a goalkeeper out of my old team. So you could see that It was all moving, it was changing. And I actually went down to Exeter for a bit. So I went down and played a little bit there, and sort of started losing a little bit of love of the football. Not so much of that reason, but football's opinions. And one person might be saying to you, "You're fantastic, Ben." You know, I don't know what they're saying, but the manager might not like you, and it's a very opinionated game. Anyway, from that, I started concentrating a little bit more with my boxing. Well, the next minute I'm top 4 in the country, and I'm starting to really do well. And I thought, actually, maybe boxing's for me. Pushed a little bit more with boxing, done very, very well, and thought, no, I'm turning over. So I turned professional, and I knew I could be a good professional boxer as well. You know, I was more professional than I was amateur, especially in them days. If you think it was point scoring in them days, so it's in and out. Your 6 foot southpaw, 6'3" southpaw was always a good point scorer. Do you see what I mean? And instead of your 5'8", you know, sort of a bit more stuff, a bit more rough and tough. So I knew that the professional game would be a little bit more me, and I think it was.
So before we go on to your pros, which we will in a second, I think it feels about right now to talk about that name that you came up with. I mean, it's a brilliant name. How did that come about? Is it because you talked about you being a hyperactive kid? Your Duracell batteries, Duracell bunny, always on the go. Is that what it is?
Yeah, my name, Duracell, yes. Well, do you know, strangely enough, I went on BBC Radio round our way, and they were saying, what should he call himself? And because I was thinking of a name, and you know, you get to a point of your professional career where you need a proper, you know, name to people to remember you. And people were ringing up. They know they'll, you know, I want this and that. Oh, that'd be good and that'd be good. And the weird, strangely thing, it was my mum that said it. My mum said, "I've always called you a Duracell battery. Why don't you call yourself Duracell Jones?" And do you know what? cracking, because she has always called me out because I'm hyperactive. I've got too much energy. You keep on going, you know. That's what is the motto of it all. And he was exactly me, Duracell Jones.
So was your mum. Oh, I love it.
His mum, bless her.
I love it, mate. So listen, going quickly on to your pro,
Yep.
yeah, you've got some.
Yeah.
You've been in with some big names, haven't you? So Lee Selby jumped out at me.
Yeah.
You know, you've Stephen Smith. You got Reece Bellotti to. Well, I think that was your last fight, wasn't it, Reece Bellotti?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I'm going to go back to a lot of it. I mean, I've been with some good fighters. I mean, Lee Selby. I had time to prepare, and it was a decent. And it was. Do you know what? You can watch it on YouTube. Everyone who's watching, go and watch it on YouTube. It was a very, very close fight. It got asked for the fight back when I think he might have been European champion, and Frank Warren said, "Yeah, it's great. We'll have it," because it was with Frank Warren at that time, and it was all going to go ahead. He didn't want that fight. That was a hard fight for him. Not being big-headed, but I was like a bogeyman to Lee Selby. I'm a pressure fighter that throws loads of punches and won't go missing. You know, he's a cracking fighter, and he really is, and I mean that. But I gave him a cracking fight, and I strongly believe, my opinion, it was a draw, if anything. Everyone that supports me would say you won that all day long by at least one round. There you go. Go and have a look on YouTube. Tell me what you think. That's up to you. Right, my boxing career, a lot of my losses. Stephen Smith, again, a lovely, lovely man. I like the man, great fighter as well. But I can't tell you whether, my honest opinion, I can't tell you whether that would have been a proper fight. I had 3 weeks' notice, okay, which is fair enough. Okay, I shouldn't have accepted it. They offered me decent money, so I was pushing on thinking, okay, decent money. Plus, I was told that it was at 9'4". A week before, sorry, it's at 9 stone. I can't make 9 stone, I said, not in a week. And then they said, well, if you come a little bit over, but it's going to be called off otherwise. So I had to go in at 9'1", and you can check that out yourself. When at 9'1", I shot myself with 3 weeks' notice, 9'1", and I got in there, and I think my little sister would have knocked me out. Come the truth. But I don't say that he's not a good fighter. He is a good fighter, but I can't tell you whether that was the honest truth of the fight. I got hit in the first round by it might have been a decent shot. It didn't look much of a shot watching it back on telly, but there you go. That's life. And do you know what? I don't knock him for it. He's a cracking lad. It ain't about him, but boxing's about clever people, but getting you at the right times and the right moments. And I strongly believe that. I want to fought a European champion in Spain and wipe the floor of him and come away. I could have knocked him out and still got a draw. I won it comfortably and lost. I was like, what? Everyone that come and watch me, I had 150 people in Barcelona watching the fight, and the Barcelona crowd, everyone booed. The whole crowd booed. They were his crowd. Disgusting.
Yeah. So earlier you talked about football being an opinions game, which is one of the reasons you went into boxing.
Yeah, that's why I'm retired now.
Well, listen, while we're on it, a few weeks ago, there was some massive controversy. You probably saw it. It was all over the bloody social media and everything. Terry O'Connor and his phone. Stuff like that, though, from a boxer's point of view, that must drive you insane when. Not just because you think you've won, but when you know you've won and they take that out of your hands. This is the stuff you're talking about now.
100%. There's nothing you can do about it. And you know what? When you train that hard and it's your job, remember it was my job. I was a full-time professional boxer. Okay, so I'm training 3-4 hours a day. Can you just go, all right, forget it. I'm not doing it again anymore. It's when you're in your prime and you're fit and whatever. You know what? You've just got to brush it off and go. Do you know what? I'm gonna go and prove myself. The thing is with boxing, you need a bit of luck, and I strongly believe any young people go out there. Make sure you turn over. Get to the best. When you turn over, get to the best of your ability before you turn over, and turn over with a decent promoter, someone who's looking after you, decent manager or decent promoter, and don't just jump in at anything. And do you know what? Some of these fights I've jumped in and gone, do you know what? That's decent money. I can do that because I haven't fought for 6 months. Maybe I should have had someone say, listen, don't do that yet. They want you. You don't want you. You wait for the right time. Wait until you're in the position where you want them instead of the other way around. You know, I think that happens a lot in boxing.
And I saw an interview with you, and I think it was the fight after the Spanish loss, where you'd lost again on a controversial one. Mm-hmm. You were just like, listen, I've had enough. I'm done. That was a live interview, so the emotion would be raw at that point. Yeah. But you did still carry on. What was it? Just because it was raw emotion, or?
Yeah, I think if you, this is my opinion. If you're not that upset or you're not that emotional that you sorry I ain't doing it anymore, hate you, you know, rip this up, this boxing, hate it. If you're not that type of person, then maybe your love ain't as much in it as you think. I think the people, for instance, Gascoigne, he's in the World Cup and he cried. Mate, people can call him the biggest baby or that. But to me, as a young kid, I was a young kid watching that. To me, that was heart, that was emotion, that was everything that I wanted to be as an adult. And that's strange because people go, oh, baby, girl, look at the girl crying. Mate, that man wanted to win so much that he tore his life away. What an amazing man. That's me. I will cry my eyes out if I don't get what I need to get or I wanted to get in boxing. That's what I wanted. Everything's my life. You could smack me with a sledgehammer, I won't cry, but I'll cry for
that. Right, so you run us through your titles because you had 5 of them, didn't you? And I guess the question is, which was your favourite victory? Which belt meant the most to you?
Do you know what? The English title was a huge thing for me. The guy that I fought at that time, Frank Maloney at the time, obviously Kelly now. Frank Maloney at the time was he was his golden boy, a cash batter, cracking fighter. Weirdly enough, it was quite close to home as well. In the amateurs, he was always the weight below me. One of my best friends, Ross Payne, was very good friends of him as well. It was a little linkle between, and there was a little niggle like who's better. And also as well on Sky Sports, they were saying that a cash batter is, you know, he's going to be the next world champion, and he's you know, he's world class and all that sort of thing. And I went out there and showed people that actually, if you think that of him, look how good I am then, you know. So I pushed myself to the next level. So on that side of things, that was a cracking fight. Winning the WBO Intercontinental was obviously my biggest and best. It was obviously the biggest title I've won, and got me number 4 in the world ranking with WBO, which was obviously very, very, very good. And also, Pelagi, the fighter I fought, was just a decent fighter. He's no idiot, you know. He's, I think, again, if he would have been promoted by the right people, I think he could have been, you know, could have pushed on and done different things himself, you know. But you need your Eddie Hearns and maybe even your Frank Warrens, but Eddie Hearns definitely of the moment, and you can you're going to push yourself to the next level.
Right, well, Eddie's the man, mate, isn't he? Eddie, I mean, you what he'd done today for Terry Harper? She'd put a thing on social media saying, "Oh, $4,000 for my operation," and he's just wired her the cash. He said, "As a bonus, you fought so well." I mean, I know he gets. Listen, he gets a lot.
The funny thing is, I signed obviously my first promoter was Barry Hearn, his dad. Okay, so I went to at the time I had 2 options. Okay, so I went and see Frank Maloney when he was okay. So Fight Factory, I want to see him, and he said, "Could you spar, Ben?" I said, "Yeah, of course I can." So I had a little spar, and he said, "Well, you're obviously a good fighter, sir." And took me in the office with my manager at the time, my trainer, and he asked questions to my trainer. Everything he said, he kept looking. He looked to me, then looked to my trainer, and said things like, "How many tickets do you think you can sell?" Well, as you know, actually, I was a massive ticket seller. I sold huge amounts of tickets. I sold, on one of my fights, I sold 900 tickets. You know, I mean, on a small hall show, which is huge. You know,
incredible.
So,
yeah.
So shame for him in some ways for asking, because he didn't need to ask. You know, and every question he asked, he'd look at me and then ask my trainer. And do you know what? I was sitting there thinking, I'm an adult. Do you know what I mean? Okay, I was a young man, but still, I'm an adult. Talk to me. Why do you keep asking the man behind me what I'm doing? You know, asking questions to a point that actually Michael Aldis, bless his cotton socks, would say to me, "How many tickets do you think you could sell, Ben?" He would ask me back the question, and it was embarrassing. I was thinking, what am I doing? Anyway, I walked out. Mick said to me, "Like, listen, he's got Sky Sports and everything. What do you think?" And I said, "I'm going to be honest with you, I wouldn't sign for him. I wouldn't sign for him, not for no money. I'm not having it." And he went, "Really?" He goes, "Well, let's go and see Hearn." Obviously, he was with Hearn himself. I went in there. He sat me in his office, which I think actually the outdoor boxing's been at that office as well. But it's the same place in Brentwood. Anyway, so I sat there. He made me feel like a professional boxer. Coffee, how you doing, Ben? You know, talk to me like I was a superstar. I walked out of there high as a kite. Whether he liked me or not, it didn't matter. He made me feel like I was a legend. Walked out there and Mick went, "What do you think?" I said, "I'm signing for him all day long." Shamefully at the time, he didn't have that much going on. He probably only had about 6 or 7 shows in a year, which was a little bit of a shame. But he done the job right. And do you know what? Look what his son's doing. His son is doing the job right. And do you know what? Most people that are with him and talk to him and sat with him actually will say the same. He's a nice bloke.
Yeah, he gets a lot of stick, doesn't he? But yeah, I think he is a sound bloke. So, right, I've heard a little cheeky rumour. Tell us if this one's true. Lomachenko, you nearly signed a fight to fight Lomachenko, his first pro fight, I believe, and it was in Vegas. Is that true?
MGM Vegas. Yes, it was true. It was true.
Yes. Go on, tell us.
Oh no, I was offered it on the Thursday night. To be honest, at the time, I didn't know Lomachenko. I was sparring with Cole Frampton. I had a chat with him and said, "Well, what he goes, he's bloody good." I said, "That's good. It's good." I wasn't worried about that. The money was huge. I'm talking big money, big money, life-changing money, that type of money, you know. And I said, "Okay." I straight away, there was no yes, no. I said yes straight away. They said, "What? We'll get the contract sorted over the weekend." This was on the Thursday. On the Friday, they rung back and said, "Everything okay?" I said, "Yes, 100%. We'll get the contract sorted over the weekend, and we'll have it signed on Monday." It got to Monday. They said, "I'm so sorry. We've signed a Mexican fellow who's a lot cheaper." No. Yeah, it's the laddie fault. So,
But that was it.
Well, I was in the WBO rankings, you see. So obviously I was right up there. They wanted to get straight in with a name, straight in with a thing. And lucky for Lomachenko, he didn't fight me.
I love it. Right. Charity work, mate. You have a massive passion for charity work, don't you? Tell us about it.
Yeah, I do loads of it. Loads and loads and loads. Mainly football, actually, strangely enough. I mean, I do other stuff as well, but hundreds of football games and I make some great, you know, all your old legends, your old football stars and all that, which is brilliant. You know, you're playing football like you're professional again, you know, with all the professional footballers, and yeah, it's great fun. And you know what, go walking around with your belts and just watching the kids smile and getting photos and stuff. How good is that? It's great buzz and good for yourself, you know.
And you met one of your probably best mates now, didn't you, doing that, Mr. Razor Rudduck?
I did, yes, many moons ago. Yeah, he's a cracking man. I tell you what a lovely man. And do you know what? To go out with a man like that, and you go out and have a nice beer, you would never think of him as a celebrity. He's massive. He's massive anyway, but I mean, massive isn't a celebrity. He is a big celebrity. You know, he's a British A-class celebrity, but you would never think it. You could spend 10 minutes with him. At first, you'd think of him like that. Next minute, you think of him as your best mate. And he's a cracking man. And he's got some cracking mates all around him. And we all have a great time. So, yeah.
You went to Vegas for his 50th, didn't you?
I sure did. Yes, I did. Yeah, great time. What a time.
I imagine you two out there like that, you know, like the film Hangover.
we done very well. Do you know what? It was cracking. I'll tell you the main reason. I mean, obviously, both of our Twitters have got blue ticks and stuff, which is good at the time. So we said we were coming out. Next thing we're getting emails, texts, or whatever you call them, DMs saying, "Come to our bar, come to our bar." We let them. We got looked after out there. It was really good, great fun as well. You know, what good 50th to remember.
Brilliant, mate. So what are you doing now?
That's not my 50th. That was his. I'm nowhere near there.
I missed that one there. I should have got that one. What are you doing with your life now then? What's nowadays?
Strange enough, I needed 2 years out. I walked away from boxing and thought if I carry on training, I'll be too tempted because I am fit, I am healthy, I'm still am now. 2 years later. So I walked away and I invested money into property, which was good. So I already, weirdly enough, I'm a plumbing heating engineer by trade. So I've got trade in me. My mum and dad said to me when I left school, I don't care what you do in life, go and get yourself a trade. You can always fall back on it. They were the most truthful words that anyone could say. I did it all from the beginning. I got myself mortgages as a young kid, and then I can fall back on it because I've just fell back on it now. And I went back in and I went into building and stuff like that, which is all linked to do with plumbing and heating as well. So I linked out. I built a place next door, which I've now sold, but I won't. It's exchanging in a few weeks, so fingers crossed. Hopefully, everybody, and I've got on with life that way. It's only in the last 6 months I've got back into the gym again, and I'm putting my little self, myself back into the situation. I'm teaching little kids, and there's a little market where there's 5-6-year-olds where they can't start boxing until they're 8, and I've gone, no, do you know what? I'm going to train them, but you can't train them in a group because they're too young. So I'm going to train them one-on-one. So I'm training these young lads, and they love it. And you would see on their face, honestly, and their mum say, "This is amazing." So it's great.
Your face just changed again, back to the old Saturday days, mate.
Good, honestly, that is the main. Do you know what? For me, I'll tell you what. Another thing, the bonus I get out of it is I've got myself back in cracking, good shape. When I train people, I train with them. I do it. I train with them. I do the pads and stuff. I do all them sort of things. I'm doing it too. That is how I'll train. I need to burn energy. So I might do 3 sessions after each other, hour sessions. I'll do 3 hours of training that day because I'm training too. But these kids love it. And do you know what? How good is it? The next week they come in and they've remembered what I've done and they're picking up from exactly where we left off the week before. That's even better.
Yeah, it's great, man. It's great. Would you ever think about getting on the pads properly for, proper boxing trainer?
What is it, you mean going back to pros and stuff like that sort of thing? Yes, I would. Yes. When the right person comes along, I'm going to do it. I found a really good talented kid from Crawley, actually. And he's only 16. He's raw. He's very raw. And he's got that complete rawness, which is great that I want to bring through. His name's Carl Brent. He's a cracking little fighter. And he was probably the main person that brought me back to that gym because I thought, you know what? I can make something of you. You are very raw. You're very new. You've not got no one's print on you. I can make you a champion. He's a good fighter, and he will be. You'll hear that. You'll hear that person in years to come. Believe me. That's
brilliant, man. I just wonder because you speak so passionately about you training the kids and stuff. And I know it's completely different serious levelness, all sorts of stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I just saw something in your eyes, mate, that I don't think you've left boxing.
No, I've not left. No, I've never left boxing. Now, you think even if you said I started at 8 years old, I probably started before that. Maybe not done a club, but I could box. I will never leave. It's my life. Boxing is my life. I will never leave it. I needed to keep away because I would have done something silly. I would have been called in. You'd have got your big stuff, your Eddie Hearns, your stuff, and they'd have offered me big money to get in there with their young star. And I'd have ended up with 10, 15 losses on my record just because they would have been paying me. Is that what I want? No, I want my legacy. I've done well. Like I said, I've won 5 titles. I want to keep that, and that's the way I wanted to be remembered, not as that journeyman. Oh yeah, Ben, he was once good, but he wasn't that good. You remember your last fights, don't you? Yeah. Remember how I was, and I want to be known as I was okay.
I think you're more than okay, mate. But yeah, right. So that's us, Ben. Apart from, I always try and get a few viewers or followers to message in with any questions. So there can be, off the scale. Some of them. These aren't too bad. So here we go. No, they're not. They're all right, actually. Al wants to know if you could go back in time and redo any of your fights. Which one would it be, and what would you do different? That's deep, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's hard to think of. I mean, let's do two sections of that. I would go back in time, and I probably wouldn't have taken half the fights on short notice. At least Reece Bellotti, bless him, good fighter. But I would like to him to have fought me when I was 30. It would have been a different game. I really strongly believe that. Also, with more than 3.5 weeks' notice, I had to lose. The problem is with myself, as I walk around a lot heavier than I boxed at. I boxed at 9 stone. I'm in good shape, and I'm 11.5.
Yeah,
that explains the sort of weight I had to lose. I was never quite that big when I constantly was training, but still, you had to lose a lot of weight, and 3.5 weeks is not long enough. And I think they knew that. They were clever. So yes, on them side of things, I wouldn't have taken them fights, and I would have took them when I would have said, I'll tell you what, yeah, we'll take that fight, but I'm not going to take it for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, or whatever, and made it my thing instead of theirs. I probably have liked to have gone over to Barcelona, just as I was fit. Was fine, just as I was, and I strongly believe I could have stopped that kid. That's how much better I was than him. And he was European. He was EBU champion. There you go. Good luck to him. I don't knock him, but you know what? How many decisions has he had that much luck with? I don't know.
One.
Well, maybe only one. No. Maybe.
This next question you answered right at the start, I think, but we'll ask it anyway. And it was when you were moving around your room. So Reggie wants to know, who were your boxing idols when you were growing up?
There we go. My boxing idol was Sugar Ray Leonard. He's a bit of me. I mean, the heavyweights, mate. You can't knock your Muhammad Ali's, your George Foreman's, and them sort of boys. But Sugar Ray Leonard was skill, speed, power in everything. He had what every young kid could dream of in my eyes. So he was my idol, yes.
And this last question, or second to last question, probably also might be answered on your wall next to it's a bit of a different one, but Mason wants to know, what's your all-time favourite movie?
Well, I don't know about you can see in the background there. I love Rocky. Rocky was one of them things that if I watched Rocky as a young kid, you'd see me flying around the ring, around the room, bloody punching things, and I was that naughty little kid, So, yes, old-time movie. Oh, blimey, right? I like films like Man on Fire. I like The Gladiator. As a young kid, I watched Gladiator at the cinema. I must have been 16. I made my mum call me Maximus for about 2 weeks. That's me. That's how I was. I'm that type of energetic sort of person, So yes, there's 2 of them. I could probably name you loads, but yeah, Green Mile is a great film. There's
Great.
Shawshank Redemption, great film.
That's one of the best. Yeah. I'm surprised. I'm just thinking. I'm surprised your mum didn't come up with a Maximus thing instead of.
She could have. Yeah, she probably could have pulled that one out of the bag.
Right, last question.
Saying it. She didn't want to tell me I was called it after sick of saying it for 2 weeks.
Last question. It's the last question. It's always a last question. There's a story behind it, but I'm not going to bore you. What's your top 3 chocolate bars?
Ooh, blimey, here we go. See, do you know what? It's funny because if I'm dieting, I want to eat chocolate. Because I'm not dieting, I don't fancy chocolate, so it's hard for you to say. I've got no real interest in chocolate. If I was really hungry into chocolate, I'd probably eat some like a double decker or probably because they got. If you're starving, especially when you're talking about me as a boxer, so I was craving chocolate. It's got a lot more to that, you know. But I'll probably have something like a fruit and nut.
Yeah.
Cadbury's fruit and nut would be quite nice now, you know, or a caramel bar, Cadbury's caramel, whatever it is. Yeah, something like that, maybe.
Right, mate. That's us, Ben. Thank you very much for your time. Have you got anything for the viewers before we finish? Anything for the viewers? Anything for the viewers before we finish?
Oh, sorry, mate. I talk too much, so I'm sorry about that. No, I hope you enjoyed. And any questions, please send them over. You know, I'll answer questions all the time, so it's no problem at all. Any time for you.
Top man, Ben. Thanks so very much. We'll catch up soon.
Thank you very much. Thank you. See you later.
See you, mate.